SCA Minhag of the Week, Life Cycles, Bar Missvah. So as we know, the Bar Missvah day, that morning of prayers, is a very celebratory one. The question arises, do we say Anna or Yehi Shem? Do we say Tahanunim, supplications, or do we omit them? And this is a bit of a tricky question because, as we've mentioned in the past, the entire Bar Missvah celebration is something that is fairly new, only the last few centuries. And this question about omitting Tahanunim, not saying Anna, is something that only began to arise in the last 120 years or so. And we first see anybody writing about it in 1908, nothing prior to that. So we have scanty information on this topic, but we do know what we actually practice. So in practice, the minhag of our community here in the United States is that on the Bar Missvah day, whether the boy is fully 13 years and 1 day, or even younger than that, like we mentioned earlier, we start anywhere from approximately 12 years and 6 months. Any time during that 6-month period that the celebration of the Bar Missvah happens, we omit Anna. We say Yehi Shem on that day. Now, what is this based upon? So, as we said, the earliest source we have is the 1908 book called Nahar Mitzrayim Hacham Rafael Harun ben Shimon. And he basically compares a Bar Missvah boy to a Hatan as well as to a Milah. And he says Hatan because in the Hatan, the Pasuk says, Ke Hatan Yechahen Pe'er. The groom adorns himself with his ornamental headdress. And this word that is used as Pe'er. And the Hachamim say Pe'er is tefillin, like the Pasuk says, Pe'ercha habush leroshecha. Your ornamental headdress is attached to your head. And the Milah, because the Pasuk from Megillat Esther says, LaYehudim hayeta ora v'simcha v'sason vikar. And the Gemara says, Sason is Milah and Yekar is Tefillin. So once again, putting Tefillin together with Milah. So therefore, since the Hatan Bar Missvah, the Bar Mitzvah boy, is like a Hatan as well as like Milah, we omit Anna on that day. We do not say Tahanunim and we only say Yehi Shem. But was this always the case? And is that the case of other Halabi communities? So we have an interesting testimony from Hacham Yitzhak Alfiyeh. Hacham Yitzhak Alfiyeh was one of the old-time Hachamim of Halab who made Aliyat Yerushalayim. In his book Siyah Yitzhak from 1923, he says, no. In fact, this is a new question that's being posed, whether to say Anna or not. And in fact, the old custom, at least here in Yerushalayim, is that Anna is in fact said. And he doesn't say Halab, but he's hinting that in Halab it was said as well. Hacham Obadia Hadaya in his Yaskil Abdi also doesn't mention anything about Yehi Shem when being posed with this question, but he seems to say, look at what Rabbi Alfiyeh says, follow Rabbi Alfiyeh. We know, in fact, that until the last Jew left Halab, they were still saying Anna on this day of the Bar Missvah. But here in Brooklyn, the custom is to say, in fact, say Yehi Shem. It's based upon the chief rabbi of Israel, initially the Mishpetei Uziel, Rabbi Ben Sion Meir Hai Uziel, who wrote it in his Mishpetei Uziel, volume 3, in the 1940s. And then later on, Hacham Obadia Yosef, in his Yabia Omer, also wrote the same thing, to say Yehi Shem, not Anna, on the day of the Bar Missvah. So even though, as we mentioned, we know the minhag of Halab as recorded in the book Derech Eres, quoting Rabbi Nassim Za'farani, says that minhag of Halab was to say Anna. In our community we say Yehi Shem. What about in other Halabi communities? So in Argentina they used to say Yehi Shem, and Hacham Yitzhak Sheheber stopped them from saying it because he only wanted them to say it if the boy was fully 13 years and 1 day. And since they weren't adhering to that, he said from now on, No more Yehi Shem for the Bar Mitzvah day, no matter how old he is, only Anna. Once again, our community, we say Yehi Shem, and that's correctly recorded in our Sidur Kol Yaakov.